My name is Jim Rainsburg. I'm 71 years old. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'm here today to share a little bit of my history. I'm here with my granddaughter, Shaylee Crabtree, and she's going to kind of keep an eye on me and ask me questions.
Okay, so do you want to tell us about your childhood when you
Well,
were
I
younger?
grew up in Hardin County. I was raised on a farm about 3.5 miles south of Kenton. We had all kinds of animals. It was a good life. I was born in 1949, so I was glad to grow up there, and I grew up and worked on the farms. And, well, I was blessed with two parents that worked hard. We had a farm, and my dad was a contractor. He'd done a lot of painting and stuff like that till he went into a plant called Wilco, and they built machines and different things. And he done that till he retired. And my mom, she worked for a company in town, and for quite a few years. And RPM, they called it back then. Essex Wire, different names, but that was what was going on back then. That's how we was raised, and I wouldn't have traded it for nothing. We raised our own food, a lot of it. It was really good. It was really good. I look back on it, and that was a good childhood.
Do you want to talk about your school days, like what school you went to and
I
stuff?
went to a school called, in Mount Victory. It was called the Mount Victory Green Devils back then. And that's where I started school. When I got up into the middle school, they consolidated with Ridgeway, Ohio, and turned it into Ridgemont, which it is today. And they've got two new schools now. The old school in Mount Victory's gone. It was a real nice building. I remember that. Good days growing up. Yeah. Good teachers. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about when you and Grandma first met?
She was a blind date. Somebody set me up. A buddy of mine's girlfriend set me up with Linda, your grandma. And I wasn't much for doing that. But I did. And we hooked up. And then I didn't see her for a few days. And suddenly, we met each other again, and we was together all the time, We was engaged when I went to Vietnam. And that kept me going, sending me pictures and writing me letters, and that made a lot of difference in my life in Vietnam. My grandmother was a wonderful lady. I had her for 27 years, and she had some health problems, and we lost her. One day I was working in Bell Fountain and decided I was going to go in the Marine Corps. And that's when it changed my life.
About why you joined the war.
I really didn't think of the war. I seen a lot of my buddies go into service, and some of them didn't come back. And I just felt at the time in my life that I needed to do something bigger than me, and that's why I joined the Marine Corps. Matter of fact, I had a buddy of mine that come back on leave, and if he got somebody to join the Marine Corps, he had so many days extra. So I joined up in his name, give him credit. And I went to, I had a choice either to go on the East Coast or the West Coast. And I decided I wanted to go on the West Coast because I wanted to see something far away. And that was far away for me because I was a farm kid. And I ended up in San Diego, California at the Marine Corps base, boot camp. And that was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. Well, the boot camp part of it was a shock to my system, like it was to all of us, because they was taking civilians and turning them into Marines. And not all of us made it through boot camp because they couldn't stand the pressure, or they had something wrong with them. But at the end, the ones that got through it learned a lot about everything, the history of the Marine Corps, the traditions, and things that I value still today from the Marine Corps. I'm proud of my service, and I'm proud of what they taught me. And I took an oath when I went into the Marine Corps to serve this country and defend it. And I still will stand by that oath. All of us that's in there. I spent one tour in Vietnam, and going through the Marine Corps training taught me things about life and honor and respect. And I've carried that all my life, and it's done me well. And I was with 3 combat units in Vietnam, the 3rd and 1st Marine Division. And we've done operations up around the DMZ. Well, I remember when I left to go to boot camp, and I was supposed to be on a 120-day delay, and they kicked it up. I didn't know it at the time, but they had big battles going on in Vietnam in 1968. A thing called the Tet Offensive. And they lost a lot of people. And so the Marine Corps was working hard to get replacements when I went. They had trimmed some of the training to expedite my being sent over. I didn't know all this at the time, but years later I found that out. But before I went to Vietnam, I remember being in a staging battalion in California, and they put together that staging battalion just to ship us over. Some of them were guys who'd been over there, were going back. And then there was most of the rest of us that were boots, never been in nothing. So everything was going through our minds about what we was going to see, how this was going to happen. 13 and a half hours later, I was in a place called Okinawa. When we got off that plane, we was there for 3 days staging our gear. And so we staged that in Okinawa. And then we got on a plane and flew from there, Vietnam. And I remember when they opened the door, this hot, heavy smell come in the plane. Because we were in the jungle, the tropics, and it was hot. And I'll never forget it. I couldn't get over the smell. And after I was there a day or two, I didn't notice it anymore. You got used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a bunch of little people running around, the Vietnamese that I'd never seen before. Never seen people like them. Living in little villages, growing rice, trying to live. Yeah. And I got a kick out of the kids. We'd give them sea rations, which was the food we ate. The military gave us to live on. Yeah. But we'd give them to the kids. We'd have candy bars in there, and we'd give them to the kids, and they'd be around just happy, that we're paying attention to them. They didn't have nothing. It was good. It blessed our hearts to be able to do that, because in Vietnam, which is the militarized zone, and we was in the jungles, and we seen all kinds of wildlife while we was in there, monkeys and lizards and snakes and big bugs. But we were young. We were about 18 years old while we was over there. And when I left, I was 20. Yeah, that's a picture of me when I was 20 years old in Vietnam beside one of our, we called them hooches. They were a building with a tent over it. And that's where we lived. And that's a picture of me. I weighed about 140 pounds back then. Didn't have much weight on you back then because you was always running doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, we was young, and when I come home and married my sweetheart, when I got home, she was a teacher. I worked in a chemical plant. It was a good life. Done a lot of exciting things, and down the line, we had a little girl named Lori. She was a surprise.
Do you want to talk about like when like mom was younger, like what your life was then?
Well, she reminds me, you reminded me of her growing up. It was like another one. And wanting to be everywhere at once, you know, very smart, just interesting all the time, you know. I mean, it was something going on all the time. And, I enjoyed every minute of it. It was great, you know. Yeah, old Marine raising a little girl. Yeah, it was funny to watch. And she grew up to be a wonderful lady. She has a daughter named Shaylee, which is doing the interviewing. I'm proud of all of them. And it's a real good day, and I'm appreciating being able to do this with a helmet that I wore. Like it. It wasn't the one I wore, but very heavy,
Yeah.
very uncomfortable, hot, because we was in the jungle. It's hot.
Yep.
And so we didn't like the helmets.
Do you want to tell us like some like exciting or fun stories like when you were in Vietnam? Like some good memories?
Oh, we was young, and so we was kind of kids at heart, you know. It was serious stuff we was doing.
Yeah.
But it didn't make no difference. Young people like to have fun. And we would take little or nothing and have fun with it. I remember we was on an outpost one day, and there was a big pond next to us. And it had a little cliff on one side of it. And one of them decided he was going to jump off that cliff into the water. And he did. And it was hot, and it was refreshing looking. So we had a whole bunch of us in that water before it was over. And there was several of them guarding us, you know, because we was out in war zone. But you couldn't keep us down. We had the radio going, and the music was going, and a little feeling of home then. A lot of things that we done was pretty rough. Just took our mind off it.
Or do you want to talk about like the first night you got home from like after the war ended?
Well,
Like,
I can tell you a little bit about what I experienced when I come home. I come home on a bus. I got off the plane, got on a bus, and got to Marion, Ohio. And my mom and sister, there were several of them waiting when I got off there. Your mom was there. When I got off the bus, I noticed, I looked at Mom, and she was shocked, because I only weighed 140 pounds.
Yeah.
When I got off the bus, you know, and she, you know, she didn't say nothing. But they sent her a letter before I come home, because I was a combat veteran, warning them not to surprise me, not to jump up behind me, don't wake me up, you know, leave me, let things be quiet around me. And I didn't know that till later, you know. I know
so you didn't know that they sent a letter
They was all
beforehand?
looking at me like, what's he going to do? Spooky. You know, but everything turned out good. You know, Mom started feeding me, and I put some weight on.
That's good.
Yeah. She made sure I didn't starve. But that's what happened when I come home.
Do you want to talk about like any of your friends like that you're still friends with now, like that you know? That
Well, I've been blessed with 3 buddies I was over in Nam with. 4 actually. 3 of us that hook up together every year, except for now because we got emergencies going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a blessing to be around them. And we talk to each other on telephone. And I got a good buddy up in Defiance, Ohio, that went through boot camp with me, and Vietnam. We're on Skype, and we talk back and forth. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is to us old people that can't get out. But I'm a disabled veteran, and what that means is you got hurt somewhere down the road. And I was very fortunate that I didn't get wounded over it, but I was poisoned in Vietnam by a thing called Agent Orange that they used to kill the foliage in the jungle so we could see.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, it was poisonings. And we fought that battle ever since we come home. And it's well documented. And people should look it up, Google it, and study a little bit about it because it's pretty shocking. But I survived, and I've done well until 2004. I was diagnosed with leukemia from CLL, which was a form of Agent Orange poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
They owned up to that in 2003. And I was diagnosed in 2004, so I was very fortunate. You know, and I've done very well. I've had to do chemo in 2008 and stuff, and I'm doing great. And I've had some other little ailments here and there, but I'm 71 years old. The last time I looked up my warranty, I outlived it.
Yeah.
I remarried, and I'm with a lady called Ruth, and she keeps an eye on me big time.
Yeah.
She raised a Marine, her son and daughter. But she raised a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good guy. He's like a brother because we've been through some same things. Well, since I've been back, about 30-some years ago, I started an outfit, me and some other brothers, called the Chained Eagles of Ohio. And we dedicated our lives to the POWMIA issues. And we have a motto, you either bring them home or send us back. Because we go get them.
Mm-hmm.
Make no difference how many years. People ask me, said, you think there's still POWs? And I says, well, I'm still alive. Well, why shouldn't they be? You know, chance. But we have been in a position to help brothers and sisters get their benefits at the VA. Because a lot of times they don't know. They just plain don't know. And some of them are sick. And they don't have a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, they don't know what to do. And we've sent them in to veteran service officers that we know and trust. And the first thing you know, they've got a place to live. They're getting a check because now they're disabled. They found out they're disabled because of their service.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're getting their medicine. They got a home. And their whole lives have been changed because of that. And I've been involved in that. And it blessed me as much as it did them. Because I had people looking out for me when I had to go through it. And that's what we do. Us vets watch each other's back. We try to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we always will.
Do you want to talk about, like, anyone who, like, inspired you or, like, made you feel like you could do what you did back in Vietnam?
Well, I looking back on it, I don't know how I did it. I just, my mom and dad worked all their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I seen them work all their lives. Good, bad, feeling good, still going, feeling bad, still going to work. And that inspired me to live my life like I did. I mean, that gave me the courage to join the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. It was something I just was drawn to, and it worked out well because I was young, kind of bullheaded, didn't know which direction to go, and I needed that. Maybe not for everybody, but it was good for me.
talk about like after the war ended, like what you did then?
Well, back when we come home, the country didn't like us. The public didn't like us. The news was in uproar because of demonstrations, because of the war.
Mm-hmm.
When we come home, we was depicted as traitorous, for being over there and being involved in that war, because it was at the time the most videoed news coverage of a war that ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam. You turn on the 6 o'clock news, you turned on the war. That's what my mom had to do while I was over there. She turned on the TV to see what was going on. It just is evidence, war to me is evidence of man's failure as human beings, because the suffering, it isn't just the military. I mean, it's people living over there. They have to live in that.
Yeah.
That's why we took care of them whenever we could. Give them food, treated them good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that all my life. I've learned to be able to reach out to people and help them. And I'll do that all my life, That's what I do. I'm glad I got the strength to do it.
Yeah.
It's because of my family. And I'd look at them and I'd tell them, the truth. I said, this would be the hardest thing you've ever done. It'll stretch you, it'll make you bigger inside. And they did it. Some of them made it and some of them didn't, but I mean, it was cool to see the enthusiasm, to go in there and do it. We're a nation that likes to police places.
Mm-hmm.
And, they got our troops everywhere. And we need to remember them. And when you see a military person, go over and thank them. Say, hey, thank you for your service. And that happens to me, and I do it to all my World War II vets. There's not a lot of them left.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of us Vietnam vets left. I mean, there's getting to be less of us all the time. While we can, we encourage each other. We try to teach the young ones. Get into your history. Read this. Understand some of the stuff that we went through. They got a lot of data on Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And the different things going on that went on. A lot of bravery, a lot of women was over there, nursing and doing a lot of critical work. And they got a memorial in Washington, D.C. for the nurses. They got a memorial for the Vietnam vets, the Korean vets. I think Americans should all go there and see it.
Was there any specific memory that you have from Vietnam that you cherish?
Well, I got memories of my buddies. Mel Bird is a buddy of mine from Florida. Mm-hmm. And he's close. He's a brother. We call each other brothers because we are. Knowing him and some of my other brothers is what kept me going. Watching each other's back. Just knowing they're there. And still, we're all alive. A lot of us is gone, but those of us that's left, we got a bond. I remember being in big military choppers flying over the country, and the world was below us. And in some places it was beautiful. And in some places it was destroyed. I'll never forget that. Yeah. Coming off them choppers, we called them angels or devils because they were angels when they come to get us. But were the devils when they took us out in there. Dropped us off.
Yeah. Oh, was it a lot? Was it a lot to take in, the first time you went to Vietnam?
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of things I didn't understand. It didn't make sense to me, when a lot of it's pretty hard to see, because it's just, people shouldn't have to see things like that.
Yeah.
In war, you see everything, and it changes you. It makes you able to do things in spite of the heavy stuff going on around you. You're still able to do your job, and you get harder because of it. And a lot of us Vietnam vets come back and had what they call PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome. Anybody can get it.
Yeah.
We got it because of war. And what it does is it makes you hypersensitive to things. You know, and a lot of times crowds bother you, smells bother you, confrontation is not good. A lot of us can't deal with confrontation well. And they treat us for that. They've got medications for it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the edge off of stuff. It makes you able to enjoy your life. You know, and without it, the people are miserable. I mean, they just can't be happy. They can't enjoy things like normal people. And, but I'm doing great, you know. I got stuff I take, you know, that works, and I don't worry about the stuff anymore, you know. It doesn't hang on me. And that's one of the things that I've tried to help others with. Because we look at each other and we can tell, you know. They say, well, how do you know? I says, I know you got it. You go, what? And I says, I'm talking to you, and we're talking about stuff that normal people don't talk about, you know, and you're telling me stuff about yourself that you've got PTSD. Own up to it, take your medicine, and be happy. And the family makes a big difference. You know, because I got people that care, you know. And I got people I got to take care of. I got buddies that around over the place I got to keep track of.
Yeah.
So I'm a little older, but I still keep active. I keep track of my people.
Yeah, that's good.
And this has been a wonderful day here to be able to speak about this and pass it on. You know, we all got a history.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming out and speaking with us about all this stuff.
Well, this is great. This is great. I appreciate it.
Do you want to talk about anything else?
I think we're good. I thought about everything I can think of, and I got it all in there. It just takes a while.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here.
Well,
and
bless you all.
we thought all the stuff that you talked about today was very, very, very cool.
Well, never forget, you can look up things. You know, history's all around you. You know, it's good to know. Yeah. Thank you.